Okay, so it looks like we're not going to have okay. Gail's not coming.
Right there.
Yeah, it doesn't do some. 10:28. 10:28. Yes. And you hear them check my email. We're coming in time.
16.
I can sit there.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm sorry.
You need to be close to the mic.
No, probably not. My voice is pretty loud.
How they do that.
Well, that's how they do the minutes.
I see.
Yeah.
We got a quorum.
So do you set them up or do you?
I mean, we've gone plus an hour.
Should the mics be on? Is that what you're saying?
No, I don't think we've got one. So that's 4 of us? Well, yeah, you want to
Good,
move,
Clay, how about you?
I'll move over.
yeah, want to move closer
Over
over
here.
Well, I think we're gonna have to do some housekeeping. Okay, we'll see. Yeah, did you want to move over?
Either way, it doesn't matter. Do you know Sally's coming?
I don't know if, I don't,
Probably not. She's usually early.
yeah, my assumption is no, so I think you should, yeah, want to go ahead and move, and that way you're near Mike.
Jerry, would you like us to move you up in the agenda? Do you have other things you need to do?
It's up to y'all, whichever best for y'all. I know
Yeah, like swap
Yeah.
3 and 5.
Steve, but,
Yeah.
Yeah, let's swap them.
Let's do that.
Yep.
Get you back to
You may
doing
want to
what you need
escape
to
from his day
do.
job for a while.
Yeah, if you're looking for an excuse to,
Yeah.
we're trying to put the springs back together, so.
Oh,
Okay, well, we're
what's
gonna.
wrong with it?
Yeah, we're gonna,
Just
Got
the,
a leak and drain
the drain's been, yeah, down on the road for years, yeah.
yep.
masonry work, got to be done.
That saved us during the hurricane.
Okay, so now does everybody have a mic? Bill, you've got a mic?
Yep.
I don't know if you're on.
Oh, you don't? Yeah, mine's on.
Yeah.
Just tap.
Speaking, I don't know if that, is that
Yeah,
on?
I
Yes, on.
if you can hear it. Yeah.
You're on.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's Sally.
Sally, come
Oh,
on in.
she made it. Yay.
Yay.
All right, we're good.
Okay, we're close.
The hair.
Yeah, let
show
me,
this.
on my phone, I can't get my phone off. Get going.
Because I couldn't get it.
Okay, are we ready?
Yep. Oh, yeah, sorry.
Say they clash with what I'm wearing.
Yeah, I know, you can't
Yeah,
be
we'll
seen
need
that
to-
way. Cannot be seen that way.
No, that's the, well, it's part of number 2. Okay. Okay. All right, then let's call the meeting to order. I believe it is 10:31. And we'll start with a welcome and a very special welcome to Shelley Johnston. Thank you, thank you, thank you for joining the staff. We are excited to have you here. You are absolutely needed, and we just really appreciate your willingness to serve. Would you please just remind us of your work days, just so everybody is clear when you're working and when you're in the office?
So typically, I'm in the office Tuesday and Thursday, and then I do a remote day on Wednesday.
Could you bring the mic closer to you? Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do I need to repeat that?
Yes, please.
Okay, so typically I'm in the office Tuesday and Thursday from 9 to 5, and I do a remote day on Wednesday.
Okay,
So
awesome.
Best way to reach me is by email because I do check that ongoing.
Okay,
Okay.
that sounds great. Thank you. And let's go ahead and pause for a moment of silence. All right. Item 2, adoption of agenda. We were thinking to be very careful of Barry's time today, so swapping items 3 and 5. And if there are any other items that the members would want to adjust, please speak up. So I believe the suggested motion would be to adopt the meeting agenda as amended by switching items 3 and 5.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, who was the motion? Bill. Motion by Bill and second by Eleanor. All right, may we please have a vote? All the ayes, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Okay, passing unanimously. Let's go ahead and move on to the meeting minutes from the January meeting.
I had a couple of suggested edits.
That sounds good. Could you move the mic over? Please proceed.
These are all very minor, but on the second page, under consideration of recommendation, the fourth sentence, it should be Mountain Retreat Association is the true legal term for Tanner's entity.
Instead of Montreat.
Yeah.
Yep, in the parens, Mountain Retreat Association, fourth line down.
And then the beginning of the next paragraph, Clay and I were consolidated.
Right.
I looked at what was said. I'm pretty sure that should be Clay Hamilton rather than me.
It's a new member, Clay Tucker.
I think Clay Tucker pops up again somewhere else.
We can always blame Clay Tucker if there's a problem.
And on the Hamilton theme, when I looked under the update on Wade and Susie Burns' conditional zoning ordinance place, the second sentence there says, Mr. Hamilton. For people who don't know all the parties involved in different things, I thought it would, and since Clay Hamilton is a member of this commission, I thought it would be useful to put, instead of Mr. James Hamilton.
Right.
And maybe reference, in parentheses, neighbor, just for clarification. And then Clay Tucker does pop up one more time on the last page at the very end, last bullet of the first paragraph.
I couldn't remember who said what, so if you do this.
I think that's you. I think that's you.
All right, I'm going to add in another one, and then and we'll see if there's any others. Back on the second page in the bullets around the update on signs, the fourth bullet says flag regulations were updated to align with state laws, but I think we should add and federal because there was a heavy focus on federal laws. So it would read, flag regulations were updated to align with state and federal laws, comma. Are there any other changes suggested to the minutes? Okay, I'm going to go over those one more time to make sure that Angie has got a fighting chance to get these into the minutes. Second page, after consideration of recommendation, fourth line down, in parens, Mountain Retreat Association should be Mountain Retreat Association. Next paragraph, Clay Tucker should be Clay Hamilton. Down to the next paragraph in the four bullets, flag regulations were updated to align with state and federal laws, and federal should be inserted. Under update on Wade and Susie Burns, the second line, Mr. Hamilton should read Mr. James Hamilton, open parens, neighbor, close parens. And then on the last page, under review comprehensive plan assignments, the last sentence should refer to Clay Hamilton, not Clay Tucker. All right, may I please have a motion to adopt the meeting minutes as amended?
Motion.
Okay, motion from Eleanor. May I have a second?
Second.
Who is competing for that? Was that Clay first? Okay, second by Clay. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? All right, it unanimously passes. That means we are on to an update from Mr. Barry Kreisman. Barry, thank you so much for making the time for this. this is definitely a topic that the commission is really interested in hearing from you at any time, frankly, on, on just your feedback on lessons learned and things for us to think about changing.
Well, for one thing, we learned pre-storm was, and then after, looking back, you can't prepare enough. We prepared to.
Would you
As
move
far
the
as-
microphone up a little bit? There you go.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But, yeah, you can't prepare enough for that storm, the type of storm that we had. So, you can upsize and all your infrastructure you want, and sometimes it's just not enough. We've noticed that a lot of our structures are aging. So every time we do a repair or replacement, we're actually upsizing that. If it's an 18-inch pipe, we're stepping up to a next size larger, or we're even changing the material, because you can carry more flow if you change materials. We're even noticing a lot of our stuff in the infrastructure where we are retrofitting. We're going back and changing stuff because we don't get the slow rains much anymore. Those are the slow soaking rains. Now we get a 2 or 3 inch rain in 45 minutes. That's more common, of course not right now, but in the past, it has been more common to have that 2 and 3 inch rain in 45 minutes, which will overload an older infrastructure. But like I say, we're just trying to retrofit, upgrade, and just try to increase our capacity is what we learned from all of this.
What are the areas that were hit the hardest? Was it the sewer? Was it
I think
electrical? Was
with
it
us, it was the stormwater system.
the stormwater system was
Yes,
the
ma'am.
most?
And then
Okay.
second would be our water system.
Okay.
So, but yeah, the stormwater really took a hit. And it's just because some of the stuff's been in the ground since probably the 50s or 60s. And, some of it was sized for, smaller storms. It just wouldn't carry. But,
Barry, we need to look at the hillside ordinance and the stormwater ordinance. Is there anything from your perspective that can be improved or added to make your life easier?
Without sitting down and really studying it, right now I can't think of anything. I mean, the more folks can get water to sheet off and not come into it like where water can build volume and velocity, stuff like that really helps us a lot, because that spreads stuff out before it actually gets to our system, off of their lots, off of their properties and stuff. We're noticing that on a lot of our roadways. We're having to do away with curbing and stuff so the water can sheet off without running
Straight down.
100 yards and building, it builds that velocity and that volume, and that's where it really starts causing damage downhill or downstream from.
So more permeable.
Yes, ma'am.
Acreage.
Stuff like that would really help.
Things.
Yes,
Yeah.
Rain gardens, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Did you notice anything specific, you don't have to mention names or anything, but any specific instances or houses or things that cause problems more so than others?
No, sir, not on, during that time, no, sir, not anything in particular for a resident. It was just all widespread, so nothing to really point out.
And I know one of the issues was leaf litter and things clogging up the drains.
Debris.
Yes,
Something like that needs to be tightened up.
well, in Helene's case, it was, we had massive slides
Yeah.
that pretty much overdone anything that came off of private properties, homeowner type stuff. So, yeah, it was, I couldn't pinpoint anything on private property either, just due to the amount of slides we had and the debris that came from those.
What about the trees that are down, some that are still kind of on either side of basically, have we had the biggest enema in the world with our trees? So, because I've noticed lately, when we've had big winds, we haven't had trees down as much because it seems like all the really
Yes, ma'am. A lot of the weaker ones were taken out.
weaker
We're
ones
still
were taken
seeing-
out.
We're still seeing some fail, and that's just where root balls have just been compromised. And I just looked at one last week up here on Mecklenburg, and I guarantee it was from, the winds from Helene just weakened it Now it's starting to fail. And the trees that we have, like going up Flat Creek, we're hoping to work with North Carolina, the state, and having them remove a lot of the leaning trees or anything that's of danger up Flat Creek. So, and then, of course, we've got our own mile-long list of trees for us to remove.
So
and
you've,
have.
you've got a whole list that y'all
Yes,
are
ma'am.
working on? Okay.
So it wouldn't really be a zoning question, but just maintaining your lot and taking down trees when they need to be taken down and removing debris.
Just, yes, ma'am, just looking, being cautious of everything around you. A lot of people are never looking up, they're always looking
Right.
straight ahead, so just look at your trees, look
Yeah.
around, make sure, the water's got a place to sheet out and soak into the ground. That's all.
Yeah.
Instead of shoving it out into the road or shoving it on
Right.
to your neighbor, we don't want to do that either, so.
Right.
Has there been any discussion about trying to create another way in and out just besides assembly? I mean, I know that's incredibly difficult to do, but
Years ago, they had discussed it a time or two, and it ends up, you've got a lot of private property to cross.
yeah,
We're just kind of bottlenecked into this right here.
right. Has there been consideration, I know that it's now been made kind of permanently pedestrian only, but the bridge, is it Texas Road Extension, no car traffic, has there been any discussion of maybe that's not the best long-term solution if money were to become available?
We have not discussed that at this point. We've,
Yeah.
that's kind of, the pedestrian bridges and all that has been kind of put back on the back burner, just due to funding, really.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that topic will be revisited when we do start back.
And the same topic, I guess, just looking at the massive bank damage that was done all along Flat Creek and how it encroached on Assembly and Graybeard in particular. And it's kind of scary just to walk a short distance up the road here and see how close the bank now is to Assembly Drive, and it doesn't look particularly stable. I guess I haven't been to see if you all are working on some kind of restoration.
We haven't moved
Project
forward on
there.
that. We've been waiting on drawings and plans from our engineer firm,
Yeah,
so it's just kind of in limbo, waiting on stuff like that.
right.
Yeah.
Have we gotten any FEMA money to help you out? Or is it still,
I think some funds have come in, but I think with FEMA being on the government shutdown, we're kind of
oh, yeah.
in hold on that
shoot.
right now, so
Yeah.
Okay.
kind of got us in limbo. We're just kind of working with what we got right now.
Right.
Yeah.
And, our next potential issue beyond the flooding, accentuated by just how dry and hot it is now, and you're out hiking anywhere, and it's just incredibly dusty. It's amazing. So we've got all these trees and branches and everything down on the ground.
Fire.
Clearly a big fire issue. I thought I had read somewhere that maybe it was even in the town of Black Mountain that somebody had gotten some either state or federal money that was specifically targeted towards some of that debris cleanup to reduce the fire risk. Have you heard? Are you aware of anything like that?
Not aware of anything like that, no, sir.
Okay.
But a lot of that up above us, above the houses would be, Conservancy would be, of course, the Mountain Retreat
Right.
Association. So they would probably be the ones applying for said grant or said funding to come in.
Right.
So that might be something to, to ask them, one of them maybe.
Any other questions or comments for Barry?
I hope some of this helps you in your, whatever
No, this is.
you need to
this
make a
is-
decision on, but.
We're just so appreciative of everything
absolutely.
that
Just
you and
looking
your
at
team.
everything go bigger.
Yep.
It's a,
What you did in the throes of it and what you continue to do today
Yes.
is just,
Accolades.
thank you.
I wanted to go back to the fire issue right quick. Is there anything that could be done or needs to be done to encourage people to clean up some of the down trees and the things around their houses and all? I think one of our biggest potential issues is fire here in the valley. And I don't know if if there's an ordinance to require people to clean up things if they're identified, or just a public information campaign to make sure that, we don't get something started on private property.
right. With what I'm seeing in our workload that I've noticed over the last 4 weeks, folks are very aware of being fire-wise. This month alone, we've almost picked, and the month's not over yet, we've picked up almost 500 bags of leaves. And I couldn't tell you how much brush we've chipped, so people are clearing out around their houses. And we're going around, usually, we alternate the weeks for leaf pickup. We're picking them up every week right now, just due to fire season. But I
great.
think everybody's really aware. Of course, they want to clean their gutters out or get somebody to clean their gutters and just make sure they've got that 30 to 50 foot space around their house really clean.
Yep.
Would really help a lot. Oh, yeah. And Nancy Midget, of course, she's running the Firewise program, so I think she gets that out to a lot of people really good.
Yep.
So.
That's great. Okay, anything else for Barry, other than our
I just personally want to say thank you because I know my property was up north of the towns, but it's on the road, and you did a great job cleaning that out, and then even cleaning more out from my property at my request. I owe you big time. But no, I really appreciate what you've done. Now, I still have some huge trees that are down, but they're not necessarily the smaller branches that'll catch first. But
Yeah.
I do intend to eventually get some folks in to take some of that out, because I had about 5 major trees go down just in my
Wow.
backyards.
Yeah.
At least I didn't have a house underneath them.
That's correct, yep.
So,
Thank you, Barry.
Thanks, Barry.
Appreciate
You
your
guys do a great job.
Just holler at me.
Thank
okay.
you.
Thank you.
All right, ordinance update. Gail wasn't able to make it to the meeting. Savannah's not here. Clay, thoughts on, would you be able to provide an update?
Yeah, I was at the last council meeting where, the last couple, where it's come up. Mason had a lot of specific legal questions, which was very helpful. And there's people who are weighing in from the community. And so, 2 things that have come out. One is that I think the town now recognizes that for review of something as complicated as the sign ordinance, it doesn't work for us just to give them a copy and then they vote on it the next day. So what they're proposing to do is that they want to have these workshops, which I think we're scheduled for May 1st, where the council members will sit with the committee members, the subcommittee members, and go through it, and so they can ask questions and make changes from that, which to me makes a lot more sense. They were all very appreciative of all the work that went into it. There wasn't any intent to be negative about what the subcommittee came up with. It was more just, it's very complicated and legal, and it's also something that's been in process for 3 or 4 years.
I was going to add that, Clay. I mean, it is, it started before I joined P&Z, and then I was added to it, so I was able to provide a little bit of continuity, but you can't consolidate years of discussions into, it's impossible.
They would ask me, well, why is this? And I could say, well, what we discussed was ABC, but, there were things in there that I wasn't familiar with because it didn't come up in the conversation. So I think the idea of having the workshop is very good. I would hope that the town can get us some guidance before that meeting, particularly if there's areas or specific questions that the commissioners have, just so that we can be prepared. I think my understanding is that because of the North Carolina regulations, you can't just catch somebody on the street and have a small conversation. It's got to be a public meeting, and so this kind of meets that, but it's also informal, so that you don't have to follow all the same guidance like you would in a full-fledged meeting. But it does kind of make it hard just to answer if somebody has a very quick question. You have to be careful how you handle that.
Yep.
But they're very pleased with it. I think one thing that would be useful is for people in the P&Z, if you hear concerns or questions from people, your neighbors or friends or anybody else, be prepared to just mention those during the workshop. One that I've heard is think we've got too many signs, and do we need some type of limit? I don't know. I mean, that's just one thing that's come up. But, that workshop's a good time to raise any issues that you've heard that aren't specifically addressed in the ordinance. And it may be that we don't need to add anything, or it may be that we need to tweak something.
What time is that? I see the date, but not a
Yeah,
time.
I didn't see that time either.
I don't know if we have a time yet.
Is that like the day that they have their regular meetings, or?
No, I think it was scheduled based on availability.
Okay.
So,
But during the day, probably.
yeah, definitely during the day. And what I'll do is, Shelley, do you know?
The time, I have,
Yeah.
no, I'm sorry, I don't.
Or Angie, do you know when?
I've been out of the office for several weeks. I didn't even know there was a workshop.
Oh, okay.
And this would be the sign committee showing, not a regular zoning? Or do
No,
you need all of zoning?
correct. Yeah,
Okay.
this is a workshop to cover the sign ordinance
Okay.
with members of the Board of Commissioners and answer questions. I mean, I think part of what I'm taking away from this is, number one, because we're going to talk about other ordinance updates, we need to just plan to have workshops like this with the Board of Commissioners, because it is impossible in one line item on a Board of Commissioners agenda to try and cover any questions that might come up. So it just doesn't, for a complete ordinance update, it just makes sense. So I think as we think about other updates going forward, we're going to want to do them.
Definitely. And as far as who's, and I think definitely the subcommittee is required to be there, but I think any other P and Z members that would like to be
Yep,
there,
it's open to the public.
it's certainly welcome. We appreciate your input.
I'm going to see if I can quickly find it, but I don't think I'm going to be able to find it. Nope. Okay, so we'll follow up. I think Gail, I'll ask Gail and then get that circulated to the P&Z, including our new zoning administrator. Okay, any other updates you want to pass on?
On the sign ordinance?
Yes.
No, I think, no, but there's a lot of appreciation for what we did do. And, it's different, so there's questions. People are like, well, but I've always done it this way type of thing, can I still do it? So there's going to be some questions like that, but overall, I think it's a very sound ordinance, it just needs tweaking.
Yep. Okay. Zoning ordinance and hillside ordinance, so just as a reminder, these are two ordinances that we've had slotted for update. I actually went back into my fat notebook and I found a list of items from the last P&Z for zoning. But we've never picked that up because it's a pretty tall task and we had signs and hillside to tackle or in flight. I think, and Clay, I'll pause and give you a moment to jump in, but I think you had a question as to whether we should really prioritize something else like stormwater, given the Helene experience. So I think something for the P&Z to consider, and Shelley would welcome any thoughts from you as well. We have these updates kind of slotted in. Should we put one or both of these as pending and consider, what are the priorities of this commission for the rest of 2026? And then I think also as we think about the comp plan discussion, which is later in the agenda, we have 2 regularly scheduled meetings left, and we just need to prioritize, is my recommendation. So welcome thoughts from the commission.
Well, I guess I'm on Hillside, and we're dead in the water until we find out about
Right.
North Carolina.
Right.
And does anybody have any update on that?
Shelley, will you have an update on North Carolina legislation affecting P&Z? Is that part of your?
I mean, I don't have anything, there's nothing
Nothing's happened?
that's relevant. No, I'll have a meeting in May with the CZOs, so there'll be some updates perhaps there. Yeah, but, so I'm not even sure what I'm supposed to be following up on. So if you
Well-
need something updated on the hillside, then if you'll make me aware of that, I
Uh,
just,
According to our last zoning instructor, North Carolina legislature was going to pass a law, regulation, whatever you want to call it, that no town could have more strict hillside or zoning.
I think it was zoning.
Just
yeah.
zoning in general than what the state has. And currently, the state has no hillside zoning,
okay.
which would be insane.
So you cannot.
Can't have a
upzone.
stricter-
That's been in effect for a while. So
Right.
we cannot up anything as far as, the changes go, as far as zoning goes. So that's been in effect. So you're saying that as far as hillside, that the state does not have
No,
anything that addresses hillside?
According to Kayla, there was no hillside
Okay,
ordinances in North Carolina,
okay.
which is insane as far as I'm concerned, because how could you
Which
can't
meant we,
treat this like flat land.
right, which meant we wouldn't be able to make more restrictive changes.
Which means we couldn't have what we have right now.
Well, no, I think you can have what you have, because it was in effect prior to that change. But I don't know that you can increase it. So just, what
So
is your?
clarity on that would be good.
So your question is that is your hillside legal?
Yes.
And do you want to increase it? Is that the question?
I think we probably need to know what is North Carolina's hillside
Okay.
ordinance.
Okay,
What are we capable of doing, if anything?
Right, if anything. And
Yes.
yeah, currently what is theirs and can we,
Yep.
how do we align with theirs?
Right,
And can we increase it? I mean, is there yeah.
yep,
There are, I mean, I've encountered this personally, there are some provisions in the hillside and the steep slope provisions of the hillside ordinance that are not clear and may impose undue monetary and restrictive conditions on a residential property owner who's trying to make just a logical enhancement to their property and runs into a situation where I think our ordinance currently says that if any part of a tract has a steep slope on it, then the whole property is subject to the steep slope provisions. And so that, in my case, that would mean like if you were trying to build a wall and you were building it on a flat part of your property, you could get caught up in having to comply with the
The
steep
hillside,
slope
yeah.
part of the ordinances, which requires money for engineers and potentially attorneys, and it just is very cost prohibitive.
There's not a percentage in the ordinance that says, the percentage of the land is,
Yes, but it looks at the whole tract. So if you had, like if you were gonna, this wasn't my situation, but if you had a steep slope on part of your property, another part that was flat, and you had a garden, you were gonna build a wall around a garden, you would have to do all the things on
all the
that,
engineering,
on that part of the property that you would do if you were
even though
building
it
something.
wasn't actually steep slope in that area.
Exactly.
Yep,
That's interesting, because when Kayla looked at mine, she was like, you don't have greater than, what is it, 20-something?
right.
If you don't have a greater grade, then the non-permeable thing isn't
Right.
under that.
Right, but
Directly into the microphone, I can't hear you. I'm sorry. What I said was, I was under the impression if the plot did not exceed the 20, whatever it is, %, then you didn't have to comply with the non-permeable pavement regulations.
I think that's true. I think our statements are, mutually exclusive, because in my case, part of my property is greater than 20%. And because of that, it triggers that application of those provisions across the whole property, even if, like, the majority of the property isn't greater than
So
20%.
that
Just
needs to be
we're getting into the-
clarified. That
We're
needs to
getting
be
into the
clarified.
weeds. I just think the point being that as we look at it, we should, definitely look at areas where maybe we need to tighten up restrictions, but other areas where maybe there are unintended consequences, and we just need to be as clear and comprehensive in our thinking as we can be to both provide better protections for the property so we don't have slides and things like that, but also don't create undue burdens for homeowners in terms of time and expense.
Okay, so I think Shelley, it would just help us to understand what our, what we're able to do and whether we can restart that,
Okay.
that subcommittee.
Going back to your comment about, we need to decide what we should be reviewing or what's the next step. I think one thing that we should really consider is what efficiencies we can make. I mean, we don't want to downgrade our ability to ensure that Montreat, stays, the way we hope it to be. But, I've looked at the monthly report on variances and zoning requests, and 98% are for setbacks from 30 feet to something, and virtually all of them are approved. And, there was also something in the vision that we got that you sent out was talking about, we just have some very unique issues here in Montreat. And, so I think whatever we do, whether it's steep slope or whether it's setback or whatever, we need to really be thinking what makes sense. We want to make sure we've got the teeth we need to enforce good, sound science and regulations. But, if there's something we can do to take some of the load off the Board of Adjustment, because they're having to meet monthly, and is it worth it? Is there a benefit to doing that? I mean, if there is, we should do it.
And I did speak to Ed about that, and he said that they were not overworked and that they were just fine. So I did, he walked by the window, my window was open, and right after you left, and we talked about it. So he was not concerned about that, so just so you know. And it is setbacks, but it's because the lots are tiny and people are wanting to expand.
Well, and they're non-conforming. I mean, they set the setbacks back in 1983 and, slapped it down regardless of where the house was. And they didn't do it individually. So you're kind of stuck with that.
And they couldn't do it individually.
They couldn't do it. I mean, you can't. I
That
mean,
would be
how are you going to do a uniform code?
Yeah.
So many of the older ones are already in the setback. That's why you have to have a variance every time.
Well, we're seeing things are evolving in the valley. I mean, we're getting more, it seems to me we're getting more people who are permanent. We're getting a different demographics, more younger people, some people coming in that don't have the historic connection to Montreat, which is great. We need all sorts of people moving into the valley. And for one of the other things that was on here is about the Wade Burns conditional zoning application. I can see whereas these new houses that are being built that are significantly bigger than what's traditionally here, and concerns about, the lodge and other things, there's going to be growing concern and issues about, property rights and setbacks and stormwater control and everything like that. So those are some things that we need to keep in mind. And I think that would, for me, I would use that as a basis for what are the next things we need to take up.
And adding to that, it seemed when I was on adjustments, and it usually was from somebody that did not have a historical connection to Montreat. They came from a bigger city. We would maybe deny their variance, and there was a lawsuit. I mean, over and over and over again. Well, I don't like that, so I'm going to sue. And it seemed to happen frequently. We had to go by our by our judgment on this, and then next thing you know, the town has got another lawsuit. So I'm in agreement. I don't know how you inform people coming here that that's not the way to go. I don't know how to do that, but I agree. There's becoming a problem.
Well, I just think the code is to protect the land, right? And really the code should be protected. That's important. I think coming from a municipality that had very loose codes as far as residential, didn't really present a problem, but there's a lot more review that goes into each. I mean, so for you guys are very small, but I'm pretty busy with applications coming in, and it's not a bad thing, but it is it has to be assessed for hillside and stormwater and floodplain and impervious. So that's something that's not normal for all municipalities, so that would be something different. I like rules personally. I think rules are important. I think the variances, so coming from the variance, the municipality that did not offer a lot of variances, I think can be a negative thing. I think that the Board of Adjustments really does try to listen, and that was one thing Ed had talked with me about. I'm checking with our attorney Brandon about, he would like to be able to have to consult on these applications before they come into the room, because they don't
Yes.
always know. Like
Yes,
Ed says, I'm
yes.
not a construction engineer,
Right.
and I don't know.
Right.
So, so I've asked Brandon that. That was yesterday. I sent Brandon an email, and so we're trying to figure that out to make sure what the legality would be. What another thought might be is if we have something that comes in kind of complicated, so if Brandon says, no, you can't, okay, so so I'm thinking another way to address that is if we had a person that was coming in with a complicated request, then we're going to tell them, look, you're going to probably need to bring an expert that our board can ask questions to, and that will be your responsibility and your financial responsibility. So that's a thought. But some of them are simple. Like I have the newest variance request is they want to put a fence at 5 feet off the road. There was a fence there to begin with. It was tore down. It was an ugly fence. They're doing some renovations. It's not going to hurt stormwater. It's not going to problem.
Could you please?
I'm sorry, it's not going to affect really anything. So that is going to have to come to the Board of Adjustments. I really think that could be an administrative decision
Instead of.
but once again, it involves setbacks. And their setbacks, it is a corner lot, but that doesn't really affect it because it's not a front, it's just one front. But with that said, that setback is 15 feet. They want to have it 5 feet.
Doesn't that encroach on the road, on the?
No, it doesn't. It does, at this point.
Not the city's property?
No.
Okay.
And there's actually a parking pad there already. And so it's a reasonable request. They're putting in a large pool. Once again, see, they're expanding, right? They're putting in a pool house and pavilion. It's going to look very, very nice. Has some landscaping, but the setbacks are an issue. So I don't think, to me, that's kind of a simple request. And I actually, if it were in my hands, I would say the fence was there previously.
Right.
Yes, it has disappeared in the last 2 years, but the fence was there previously. They have photos. So I would say that's kind of what and that would be my
Not something
thought.
for the Board of Adjustments.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think that case is.
Yeah.
I think, putting a house really close to another house, and I was the neighbor, that might bother me, and it might affect my sunlight, right, or my shade. So, but I think that the Board of Adjustments really is unique to this area because of the lot
I would,
sizes.
two things, and I know we're getting into the weeds, but two things I would say, have them talk to their neighbors first.
Sure.
You know, just go, look, because
Yeah.
half of this is the neighbors not liking or not understanding.
Yes.
But the other part was procedural. There was always, a lawsuit was because of some procedure
Yes.
that the board didn't take, or the
Yes.
zoning, and that was the opening to go out into
Yes.
court, so. I'll get off that.
You mentioned lawsuits, and one thing I just want to point out is that the more variances that are granted, the greater likelihood that someone will
Lawsuit,
prevail
yes.
if
If they're in the
Sure.
court, yes.
Yep.
And that's why I was saying if 98% of the variances are granted, then we've got to make really sure that we've got a very strong reason why the 2% that aren't.
Yeah,
Or else you're
you're opening yourself up, yeah.
Yes.
And last thing, so as you and I had spoken about this, so one thing that is a possibility is just to change the ordinance saying that if it's a setback issue and it's less than 5 feet, then it could be administrative. That's an option. I don't, it doesn't affect me one way or the other, but that is a way to change it so that it is an ordinance and we are following it.
I think that's a great idea, because a lot of the ones we were dealing with, we want some steps. You know, the balcony is 3 inches over into the setback. I mean, it's really not, and I think that's a great idea, to where, you're right, we're not opening ourselves up for lawsuits.
Right.
So that would be a zoning ordinance that we might consider.
Yep.
One other thing just to keep in mind, my wife's on the tree board, and they've been asked to look at the tree ordinance. I didn't even know we had one.
I didn't either.
But Shelley, as you hear about other ordinances being revised, we, as the P and Z, we probably need to review to see
Yes,
if there's any
yes.
overlap.
Yeah,
That's a great point.
okay.
So do we have a specific request to Shelley then to go back to the Board of Adjustment Chair and ask about, whether
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and maybe they could come up with it. Maybe they could
Right.
say, if it's dealing with this, that, and the other, Shelley can do it. So have them,
right. Yep.
kind of, and then we'll look at it and see if there's problems.
Yep.
So you're asking me to go to the Board of Adjustments to see if they would
Say.
like there to be a change in the ordinance?
Especially like setbacks.
Okay,
If it's
okay.
a minor setback, can
Okay.
you as a zoning,
Okay.
administrator handle that and they don't have to,
Okay.
and make sure they know it's also, we don't
Mm-hmm.
open ourselves up.
In my previous life, in personnel issues, where we had the most problems was where we had granted an exception for somebody and
And
didn't
not-
someone else.
Did not
So-
consistently.
Right.
Or there
Yes.
was one that wasn't enforced, and we tried to enforce it and got sued. So I'm very cognizant of having ordinances or.
It's a course of dealing. You establish a course of dealing once.
Yeah,
yep,
yeah.
With that repeated history of granting the variances until you don't grant it.
Well, and I don't want to create an ordinance that we're not going to enforce.
Right.
Well, and anytime you as a zoning administrator and someone says, I want to, put this fence up, you should always notate, there was a fence there. So if anybody comes to you and say, why did you do this, not this? You can say, there was a fence there too, blah, 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 blah. So documentation on your part would be
Yep.
very important.
And that's what, so the practice here is, there's a letter, I don't know if Kayla started it or not, but Alexis was doing it, and it's very comprehensive, probably a little too comprehensive, but it does explain the whole process. So,
Right.
yeah.
Okay. Okay, any other items on ordinance update number 4?
I think, what do we need to do to decide what's the next task that we should take? Do we need to have a conversation with the commission? Do we need to come up with our proposals? Because there's hillside and zoning, and then there's stormwater. And I don't think we can do all of them at
Right,
once.
I would agree. Welcome thoughts from the group, but it is a lot to take on an ordinance update. I realize it wouldn't be the full commission, but it is, quite an undertaking.
So question for Shelley, is there a lot of new construction occurring here right now that would Hillside would affect?
I've not had any hillside effect. The thing that I have seen the last 6 weeks, the hillside has not been in effect.
Okay, so maybe we can level that for a while and just go with the stormwater? And, because we also need to find out from North Carolina whether we can
And
continue.
one thing with the stormwater, Barry had shared with me, and stormwater is new to me, so this is totally new. But, I do assess for stormwater, right? And then people can put in a rain garden if they want to. Well, that's great. But so for my concern is who follows up on checks to make sure the stormwater is functioning. So Barry had mentioned that was kind of not happening. And maybe the lag happens. I don't know who did it previously, because you don't have building inspectors, that could be affecting that. I don't know that I have the capacity to understand whether stormwater's
Working or not.
working. I mean, I'm being honest. But that is something that I am requiring stormwater. They are signing a contract saying they're going to do it. But from oversight from my part, I'm kind of concerned about who's actually making sure that they're doing it. So that would be a part of the stormwater ordinance. If you want to look at that, that would be something that I see as a definite concern.
So the follow-through.
The follow-through, yeah, the
and-
follow-through.
Yep.
Not that, I think the ordinance probably, not an engineer, but it appears to be working. But I think my concern would be is who is enforcing this to make sure that they are maintaining the stormwater and it's working the way it should.
Well, maybe it could be a quarterly inspection from some person. We have a list of who's supposed to have this, and they come out once a quarter and go, just do a real drive-by check.
And things change too.
Yeah, and things
Yeah,
change.
and one thing I would say is that I think a lot of the damage that was done with old construction, done before we had some of these wastewater and zoning for the way things were. I mean, the things that got clogged and the things that happened were because they had old culverts that had been in there for a long time and a huge volume of water. It'd really make it kind of hard, but any new construction obviously would have it, but the old stuff was there until it got blown out, and then we're going in and replacing it, as Barry has said, with larger culverts, and that's helpful. But again, it's some of the damage we sustained was just, we had not expected this, and it had not been an issue in the past.
I think, so people, the intentions, and it depends on who the builder is, right? So some builders bring in great plans, and they're very easy, and that's one thing I'm requiring now. I need certain things on site plans, and
Yeah.
so you're not going to tell me verbally it's going to be on the site
Yeah.
plan, because it's going to be a document that's attached to the permit. But I just think when someone says they're going to do a rain garden, that's great. But as I asked Alexis, well, who checks on this? Who does this? And it really should fall to the county, the building inspectors, but I'm not so sure that happens. And that's where I think there's a breakdown. I don't know that Barry has the capacity to do it, but so, and I do believe that Land to Sky, the regional cog, is working on this a little bit, but that would be something that I think that if I were to make a recommendation for the stormwater, that would be the follow-up is as important. And I think the ordinance may be working just fine if they were actually doing, and I'm not saying they're not doing it,
Right.
but it just
We just don't
concerns
know.
me. That's
We
right.
just don't know.
So,
I think you're right. I mean, a lot of what we have to deal with is not the people who are going in with full intentions of doing and following up. It's the few people that, they'll do it, but then maybe they fill in their rain garden because they want to put a patio, or they don't keep it up. And that's where we need to be sure that there's some
compliance. And that's what I think, sometimes compliance is, like I comply more because I know you're going to look at me
Yeah.
than because I really want to.
Is the rain gardens usually part of their stormwater runoff plan that's
Yes.
necessary?
Yes.
So, yeah, I
So
mean,
when
right.
it's a small disturbance, you have some options that you can do. And you, the individual, the homeowner, can tell me, I'm going to put in a rain garden, and I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And that's all great, and I'm okay with the fact that you don't have to employ an engineer to do that, and you can do it yourself. But I just think that there should be some follow-up.
Well, maybe you should require, them to take a picture and send it to you, saying, part of, as
Yeah.
part of the construction on, bi-quarterly or
Yeah.
bi-yearly or whatever, you must show me that these things are still in.
with a
in
sunset,
play.
even
Yeah.
for 2 years or 5 years.
Yeah, but they're still in play.
I like the idea of taking the stormwater first.
I think so, too.
Two of the issues facing the town right now are related to stormwater.
Yeah.
And with lots of lawyers involved and everything else. So making sure that we're very square on what our regulations are in compliance, I think can only help. But we should get input from the council probably.
Yeah.
I agree.
So I think and I'll pause and see if any other members have, a question or a different priority that they want to put forward. But I think what we're hearing is stormwater next, defer hillside, defer zoning.
Yeah.
Consider with stormwater, we would need to know who wants to be involved in that
I'll do it.
subcommittee.
I mean, since I'm on Hillside and I will
Okay.
volunteer, I won't lead it, but I will volunteer.
Okay. And in order to start it, we would need to have confirmation from the town attorney. I mean, chances are, there would be provisions that could be more restrictive than what's in there right now. So I think our question is, can we do that, given North Carolina legislation?
zoning.
Yep. So no reason to start it up if we can't
Okay.
execute on it. That would
Yeah.
be my first question.
Good point.
Okay.
I'm happy to join stormwater as well, if that helps.
That would be awesome.
Happy to as well.
You didn't get enough from signs?
Well, signs is over. It's all done.
It was educational.
Awesome.
Now I feel much more empowered to pull up signs that aren't
in
Right.
compliance.
Okay,
Can we do
great.
that? We can't do that.
Actually, I've got another meeting at
Okay, got it. Thank you.
11:30 here.
Yep. I'll follow up with you on the next topic that we're going to discuss and let you know where it ends up.
I'll look at the minutes.
Yep, thank you.
I nominate Clay Tucker to be on that.
Clay Tucker.
That's very efficient. We just reduced 2 to 1.
It's like you're an influencer.
And Clay Tucker's wife, Eleanor Clay Tucker.
That's awesome. All right. Okay. Are we ready to move on to the new item 5, which is reviewing the term limits for ETJ members?
What is?
Can I just say
what's
something
it?
about
Sure.
Barry's comments? So, and then what Alan said too about his property. So, in terms of public education, I feel like, I know we do well on Firewise and that kind of thing, but
Right.
in this time where we're in the middle of a drought and people have all kind of felled trees, just a reminder, if you could strip those trees, just get off the major brush, or maybe 3 reminders and just put them in front of people. That's not a particular, go ahead.
Well, to your point, could we have a sign that goes up by the gate? Because a lot of times I see, stuff from Montreat, just kind of delete it. I'm sure I'm getting all sorts of information, but I delete a
Oh, you
lot of
mean
stuff.
A sign,
Little sign. Right now, we're under a fire ban.
right,
Make sure you get rid
Remove
of it.
brush.
Remove brush. I mean, people come through that gate,
right.
and it would be nice to go, hey,
Yep.
because even if you're not on the email list, you're coming through the gate.
I think it goes back to the person that was raising about, too many signs.
No.
There's so many signs out here right now. I wonder if, it's more work for the town, but, if Barry or his crew see something, if they can report it back up to Shelley or, or whoever, then somebody could go out to the homeowner and say, hey, you got a problem. And I don't know how to do that legally. But if there's a house that there's a lot of brush that's not being picked up or cleaned up, particularly when the houses that are rented, I would hope the town would have some ability to say, hey, this is a problem and you've got to take care of it.
As long as there's an ordinance, and I don't know that there's an ordinance for that, but if there's an ordinance for that,
Yeah.
then absolutely, we could enforce it. Absolutely. So,
I think we shouldn't lose sight of the non-resident part of the equation as well, because the largest number of trees that are down are in the 2,500 acre conservation easement property that's owned by MRA. And I think MRA needs to work with the Southern Appalachian Highlands Conservancy to develop a plan for how they're going to address kind of that issue long term. And I think it's a money issue for both organizations, but it is the elephant in the room as we talk about fire risk. Also, both MRA and the town still own a number of individual lots within the township itself. There's one right next to my property, one right next to my neighbor's property that have lots of downed trees and brush and leaves on those properties. And that on my property, that's the thing that causes me most concern.
Is your neighbor.
Yeah, exactly. So I actually just asked Barry if he could at least cut one of the dead trees down and get it on the ground where it has a better chance to rot. But, I think we need to, obviously the residents play an important part, but if you looked at the pie chart, the biggest part of the pie chart is properties that the residents
MRA.
don't own.
Yeah.
Well, I do think that's important information that I didn't even calculate, but I also don't think it's a bad idea to have a sign when we're in a ban.
Well,
It just says, these things help.
Yeah, and-
just a reminder because,
maybe instead of lots of little signs, we have one, I'm sorry, I'm adding to all this, maybe this is a really good idea without having the money or the forethought or anything. But right there at the gate, if there's somewhere that we can have some, permanent sign that tells people, especially people that aren't residents, there are bears. We are in a fire ban. a lot of people just don't get their emails. Older people don't get the emails. They don't look at the emails. If you're not here as a permanent resident, you're not getting the emails. And so it might be a consideration, you know, maybe, I'm sure this is a town council thing, but
We have good bear signs now, but I think.
put them all together in one place.
I think one thing, what I've seen in some areas is they'll have signs, you know, right now there's a burn ban.
Right,
And
right.
so there might be a sign, a place for temporary signs, you know, like conserve water, burn ban, things that are timely.
Timely, that can be taken down,
Yeah.
right.
Right.
So that it's a good, you can see it really quickly and say, oh, here's a problem now.
Right.
As opposed to one that you see every day.
Right. I was just thinking, I mean, almost like a billboard that can be changed.
It's like you would, you would have the sign for, not attention, but things to be aware of, and then you can put on the additional signs.
Yes, and then take it down and, right as we come through. I mean, having
Yeah.
it up by the lake,
Yeah.
I don't half the time go by the lake because I live on Nisbet, so I don't even go up there. But everybody goes through the
Well, the
through
town would
gate.
have, assuming the updated sign ordinance goes through, the
I
town
know,
would have
there's
the
another sign. Sorry.
capability to do that. So I wonder if this is a question that we should ask Shelley to put in front of
the work,
Savannah.
and then do it in the workshop.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you guys want a public sign out here by the? by
Yes,
the-
somewhere by the gate that can be changed. That
And you don't, not electronic, right?
No,
Good.
Nope.
no. I mean, let's do it tasteful.
Yes.
Not one of the temporary, orange ones, but, if money was not an issue, some towns have the nice Jumbotron type signs that you can change,
But
but that's,
we're
Yeah.
not.
I mean, I don't know what kind of sign it needs to be. Obviously, we want it to look nice and beautiful and tasteful, but also easy to
and you could
to
actually-
change.
You could put it on this side of the gate as
Yes.
well.
Yes.
Yep.
But I think that will really inform a lot more people,
Visitors.
visitors, everybody, tradesmen, everybody.
And it could be used for, like 4th of July.
Sure.
About parking.
It's like just
Absolutely.
a community sign.
It's
Right.
a community sign, information sign.
But
Like
you're,
if it had the, welcome to Monterey, please be aware, and then you could add burn ban.
Yeah.
Bear,
Yeah.
and so.
bear risk, whatever it is.
Maybe a
But you're not
placard.
thinking, you're thinking more of not an electronic sign that changes, because those really are costly. They start
Yeah.
about 50,000.
I'm not even sure that would be allowed per the
Yeah.
updated ordinance.
But maybe
so.
placards, like
Yes.
here's a just this thing right now, burn ban,
Yep,
Okay.
bear watch, bears,
Okay.
danger,
right.
Okay, I will ask Savannah about that and see what she says.
I think that would be exceedingly helpful.
I agree.
Okay.
Okay, new item 5, to review term limits for ETJ members. So this is a discussion item for the commission. I don't know exactly how small the ETJ is, but
I don't
it's
know what ETJ is. What is it?
extraterritorial jurisdiction. So this is the role that, that Alan sits in. And a member of the Board of Commissioners reached out to me and said, we're concerned about the fact that we've got term limits and being able to get people to appoint.
Yeah.
And, we have an open seat on this commission right now. I mean, we're so grateful that everybody chooses to do this, including those who are rotating across different commissions. It's a lot of work. But that risk is concentrated in the ETJ role because the pool is just a lot smaller.
Do we know how many people, houses?
I
think-
don't know the answer to that, and I don't know if Alan would know the answer.
And what's the term limit right now?
Well, right now, the term limit is 2.
Oh, good Lord, no.
Yeah, 2 terms.
Oh,
I mean,
oh.
we're all under the same
Yeah.
term limits. It's
Okay.
2 terms, and then you need to roll off. And so I think the question for discussion for us is, with confirmation by the town attorney that we're not required to have term limits, would we be willing to change our own protocols, because it's documented, our own protocols to say for the ETJ member, that term limits that the Board of Commissioners may choose to waive or
Extend.
Yes,
right.
exactly. I personally am not recommending that we expand beyond that. I mean, I think term limits are useful, and so it's something that I'm not personally recommending that we do it more broadly. But in this instance, if we want to have an ETJ member, we may need more flexibility.
I agree. I think, yeah.
I agree with that. I mean, the town itself, I think the term limits are very good and effective, and it's good to have fresh views come in. And there's a large enough base of people in the town to
Right.
pretty easily be able to replace people as terms expire. But let's say the ETJ maybe represents 10% of the population size that the town does, and that I can understand why that is restrictive and not in anyone's kind of best interest.
And
to have
plus,
a term
half of
limit.
them don't live here year-round.
Exactly.
I mean,
Right.
that's
So you
even a
just end up
smaller
with
pool.
empty seats, basically.
I think you're right. I mean, we need to be cognizant of this. It's volunteers. You rely on people. And in some cases, you have trouble finding people, and we've got
Right.
to take that into account. I just want to make sure that we don't do something that's automatic. We shouldn't extend anybody's term without
Review.
really trying to find somebody else.
Yeah.
And so as long as that's built in, we could either say, if there is no other candidate, the commissioners could vote to extend, give them another term, or, you could say that change it so that they could reapply.
Yeah,
And then, but it wouldn't be, right now it's kind of automatic. If,
Yeah.
After one term, you get pretty much an automatic second term. Okay, after that, there's more scrutiny and more effort to try to look for competition.
Is there, so let's say you serve 2 terms and then you're out. Can you go back on it after a certain amount of time?
I don't strictly know the answer to that. Okay.
So how
Thank you,
much
Angie.
time does that have to happen? 2 more terms and then back in, or 1 term? And then you can
Okay.
come back. Okay, all right.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's, it's great to have people who have experience on, various commissions to roll to a different commission, because I think that, that is super. I have learned so much on this commission that I can see how reusing that expertise on a different one could be helpful. So I took some notes, and I'm going to read them out to make sure that I've captured, where we think we are. So we would consider a change to give the Board of Commissioners the flexibility to defer the application of term limits, but it doesn't change the fact that the appointee still needs to apply. I think that rolls in, so it would be a narrow change for the Board of Commissioners to consider to defer the application of term limits for anybody who's applying, is the way I think of it.
Are you speaking specifically to the ETJ or in general?
ETJ only,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. That's what I was thinking.
I would just request that we add something in there about advertising or looking for
Right.
potential candidates, to make sure.
To be clear, yeah, it still would be posted
Yeah.
in the ordinary course. Still,
Active search or something.
right. I mean, it doesn't change what I think are the other requirements to solicit candidates, to do a public posting, that it's open. It just means that the current member would be able to reapply.
Should there be some comment about reviewing and potentially adding flexibility to what's required of a representative for the ETJ? I don't even know, do they have to actually be a full-time resident? Do they just have, could the ETJ members have their own vote and nominate someone? It just be like individual or attorney who's going to represent their interests. Yeah, proxy.
Yeah, I mean, without Alan, and his
Yeah.
background in the ETJ, I
Should've
don't.
talked about that
Yeah,
while I was
I
here.
know, exactly. I was hoping he'd be able to stay, so I don't know the
So
answer to that.
questions for Alan then?
Yeah, I mean, or,
No?
It has to be, they have to own property.
Yeah?
They don't have to live here permanently. It can't be a proxy. It has to
Okay.
be
Actual owner?
a tax-paying person
Okay.
that owns property.
Yeah. Okay.
which makes sense because, I'm still a part-time resident and I put it into my application to make clear that I wasn't full-time so that the Board of Commissioners would know that, I'm committed to drive up, but I'm not here full-time. Okay, so up to Board of Commissioners to defer the application of the term limits, open application to an existing member, still post for applicants. So did we end up with, am I reconfirming or did we change some piece of that?
No. I think
Okay,
yeah.
okay. I will take this, I will reach out to Tom Widmer, who reached out to me, and, see what other steps he wants to take. I do believe it will come back to this commission to make a formal change to our own rules. I think it's going to require that, and we'll go from there. Does that work, Shelley? Okay, Shelley's good with that. Okay, now we're rolling on to zoning administrator updates and discussion.
Okay, so I looked and see what Alexa said last time. So I don't have anything new as far as for the North Carolina 160, which govern us. Just to let you know, we've had quite a few, I've had 4 exemptions. So what happens is if someone comes and they want to do a remodel in Montreat, I am asking if they apply for the zoning application. That's my new standard, because I need to know what you're doing. If you don't need it, then we're not going to charge you the fee, but at least I know, and then I write you a letter of exemption, because what happens is they go to the county, and the county says, you can't get a building permit until you have a zoning approval, but if it's a kitchen inside, you're not explaining the footprint, I don't care. So just something that we are now
So we
doing.
know that they're doing
Yeah,
it.
and so it's real simple, and it's just that I need to know what you're doing. And what I may do going forward, I may not require that, but right now, I'm trying to figure out what's going on. There's a ton of construction going on here. So we have a new variance about the fence setback that I spoke about. That will be on the May meeting, May 28th, I believe it is. Also, I have approved 2 zoning approvals, compliance, and then we have 4 that are outstanding. So I have a running spreadsheet that Alexis was working off of, that it come from Kayla originally. And so if you have any requests about any updates, but that's where we are. The process kind of is what I'm following what they were doing in the past. For a variance, it's 6 weeks. It doesn't really take 6 weeks, but sometimes it does. So I'm not going to change any of that until I kind of get in the movement of it. I'm telling people for approvals, if you're coming in for an approval, a zoning approval, it takes 6 weeks. It takes really about 2 weeks, but it's just
Manage
me
expectations.
stumbling.
Manage
I am stumbling
expectations.
through a lot of this. And
Yeah.
even like right now, there's a bill in the floodplain, and that's really new to me and really kind of freaky. So I'm kind of stumbling through that to make sure that I'm doing that correctly. And so that's my update. So it's moving along.
May 28th at
May the 28th, yeah.
5:30?
5 o'clock.
5 o'clock, okay.
What's that?
It's a variant.
It's
the
a
zoning.
variance. And so we
mean,
did not have one in April. So it doesn't appear that it happens every month, but we have that one. Ed did warn me that he feels, Ed is the commissioner, the chairman of the Board of Adjustments. He feels that there's going to be some complicated ones coming up. Now, he didn't say what it was, but so that's the reason why we are discussing about how we can how the board can be educated prior to those coming in front of them. So that's where we are on that.
I went back looking in the old newsletters, and there was something that was posted about reminding people to get or put in
An application.
application. And it had some things about if you do this, this, and this, you need one. And I was realizing we just had our kitchen redone, and we used somebody that does a lot of work here, and so I just assumed they put in an application.
called doing it the mountain way.
You know, I didn't have to sign anything, I didn't, you know, I just, like I said, they're very, they do a lot of work and they're very.
And Angie could speak to that. I think,
You know,
if you
there's-
don't get a permit,
Yeah.
right, is that the way to avoid that?
So you don't, the homeowner doesn't necessarily have to sign a permit.
Yeah,
So the contractor generally pulls the permits,
yeah,
and so they take it from
yeah, and which I assume, like I said, they were very reputable, and it's like one of the big two
Yeah.
or three construction firms here in the valley, so and we talked about permits in general, but I never saw anything, and I didn't know, being on P and Z, I didn't want to get in trouble
Sure.
because I didn't follow up. But I just didn't know if there, you know, this whole issue of when you need a permit and when you don't is very complicated. And I didn't know if we need to do more education or.
Like a
if it's
Montreat
problem.
minute, you know, or a, yeah.
Yeah, or something, but it's more just to raise it so that y'all can be thinking about it.
And I think what happens, what's triggering it, is that they're doing the construction, right, and they need that permit, and then they're not letting them get the permit until they get the zoning compliance. And so that's what's happening. So my thing is like when I have someone call me and they'll say, well, I'm doing this remodel, do I need a zoning compliance? And I'm like, just go ahead and apply, send it in,
Right.
so I know what you're
So
doing
doing-
in case somebody has a question on it. And then if I have to write you a letter that I want an application right now, it just makes it easier for me to make sure we're doing the right thing. But if you don't have if you're not, you know, if for some reason, if you don't have to have a permit, then it may go unknown.
What-
Just like for
And
fencing.
I
What-
think
and what-
Angie has a point to
Yeah.
make.
So when we have an in-house building inspector, and I would see or hear about construction without a permit, Dan would go out and they would be fined. They would have to come back to me and they would pay double the permit fee for doing work without a permit. Then the town chose to move away from Dan. The county does the permitting. I just handle the paperwork. Paperwork goes through me to the county. Now, if someone operates without a permit, the county doesn't care.
Right.
So,
So what really triggers a permit? Is it I'm talking about an interior. Is it cost? Is it, because it includes like an electrician? What, the scope, if it, a trade, okay.
anytime
Plumbing, electrical,
mechanical.
mechanical, so,
And
okay.
that's if they're pulling a permit. So
If they're pulling- yeah,
that's part
no.
of it, is they could be a contractor and be licensed and not pull a permit,
Right.
just to do it illegal, right? And
Right.
then that never shows up to us.
Yeah,
And like my last place of work, we had building inspectors, and the same thing happened. So I would go out on a zoning call, because I always went to look at things before I issued. Then I would see construction, and then we would send the building inspector out.
what about for landscaping? If it includes electrician, if it includes a trade, if yes, a licensed trade, that's when it
And-
usually,
And so, you know, for landscaping, if it's if it's on a hill, or if it's
Yeah,
gonna
okay.
affect the impervious.
Okay, yeah,
Or the
yeah.
water flow.
Yeah.
So those are all things that, and that
Trigger
wouldn't
it.
necessarily require a permit. That would be just us in-house. And so really, what would be good if we, and maybe there's a great system for it, I don't know about it, but if we just had a way of maybe more accountability as to when you see things going on, well, like when I was, if I were out driving around previously in my previous municipality and I saw something, I'd come in and say, hey, something's going on at 100 Smith Road. Okay, yeah, we have a permit on that. We know what's going on. And so, but if someone's putting up a brick wall that could affect the stormwater, and they're doing it themselves, or they're using a contractor that's not pulling a permit, if there were not a permit needed, those are all things that kind of happen under the radar, but they could affect us. They could cause problems.
Right.
And so, not that, I try to be very flexible with people. I mean, I don't try to be, if we've got a problem, I call and go, okay, we got this problem. How many days do you need to fix it? Because you can't leave that building here. But what are we going to do about it? So, but just you guys having eyes, and other people having eyes too, so that we make sure that our stormwater is functioning as it is, and we're not having things that shouldn't be occurring.
So to be clear, if someone has procured a permit, then you're notified.
No, not
No.
now. You're saying that's why you want to have
No, yeah.
a zoning
So
application.
what happens, the only reason I'm notified typically is they try to get a permit from the county, a building permit. And if they don't have a zoning it's two different permits. Zoning says, yes, what you're doing is acceptable. You know, whatever you're doing is acceptable under the zoning code. And then there's the building code, which says what you're doing is within the limits of the building code. You're doing it right. You're a qualified person, you're doing it right. So the good thing about the county is they can't go and get a building permit without
No.
a zoning permit.
So you're saying if you get a permit, they've already talked to you?
Typically, well, they come back to me because they can't get the building
Right.
permit. But
I mean,
there's,
I've got a permit, so I'm okay?
you've got a permit. If you're doing building, yeah, so probably so, but.
Well, it's internal.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying, internal, the zoning, they have to have the zoning exception letter for the internal, yeah. But I think, but it's just different things, and I think understanding the different type of permits makes it a little clearer too, because it's kind of unclear, right? Even for me to begin with, it starts, it's like, well, building, and then there's zoning, and then there's stormwater, and then there's floodplain, but just, I think it's important to have the permits. Without a building inspector, it leaves us a little bit more vulnerable because there's not the follow-through, even like the stormwater. So typically, a building inspector would go out and follow up on that. They would get the occupation, the CO, so they could occupy the dwelling, and the building inspector, that would be part of their checking the stormwater. We don't have that, so we have to rely on the county, which is not,
You're just doing the zoning permit, not the building permit.
yes, we don't do building.
If, like my kitchen, there was no change to the floor plan. Anything.
That's right.
It's just new cabinets.
Yes.
Things like that. So would you even,
It depends, and like Angie was saying, if they go in and they're doing, the trade is being used, I don't know, maybe you had updated lighting,
that would be a building permit.
that would be a building permit, but the county is making them have a zoning approval for that. So what I'm doing, I had 4 calls last week where I've got builders going, we are just doing a remodel inside the kitchen, but the county needs us to have an
Zoning
exemption letter.
application,
So
yeah. It's
what
the
I'm
exemption
doing,
letter.
I'm making them do an application just so I know what they're doing.
I got it.
And then I
Right.
write them a letter saying,
That's fine.
this is exempt because it is there and not expanding the footprint. A couple things trigger, impervious, slope, stormwater, those are all things that we're looking for. And of course, acceptable in zoning, we can't put in a
Yeah, I mean,
topless bar.
You can be thinking along the lines, like we need to have our asphalt driveway resurfaced.
Mhm.
I don't know if we need a permit or not, but if there was a list of examples,
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
know, that
If you're attaching to the town proper, if you're connecting, and it sounds like even though you're not changing, and please understand, I'm only 6 weeks into this, and it's only part-time. So, I could be wrong. But if you're connecting to the town, you're putting back, you're putting more, I would think you're connecting. So you're putting new asphalt on top of that. Even if it's the same material, I would require you to have a right-of-way permit so that you're connecting to that. Maybe not a cut permit because you're already existing. But so, and some of it's discretion too. Right now, I'm super careful because I don't know what I'm doing.
Well,
I'll get a little looser in a couple months or in a year or so.
Yeah, so, but if y'all can, maybe if there was
Yes,
a better list of examples,
yes.
this does, this doesn't, I need.
Or just typically requires, like not trying to create ordinance through a communication, but
Periodically, Tom does put them online,
Yeah,
and I post them for it. So there are some out there in previous contract minutes.
yeah.
Okay.
I found one, they were like 4 or 5 things.
Yeah.
They were pretty major,
Yeah.
which makes sense, but.
well, it's a great example to say if you're doing interior work and trades are needed. I think that's a great example
Yeah,
to remind people.
yeah.
But I think, clearly, we've got at least 3 members of this commission who have questions.
Which tells you that maybe the
Yeah.
broader community.
Yeah.
needs
Yeah,
more
and then we
information.
also know that there are a lot more people moving into Montreat
Yeah.
these days who never don't really know a whole lot about Montreat. Their real estate agent just said, hey, there's this cool house in Montreat.
Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah.
And they end up here. So I think it would be really helpful and important to have just some concise outlines about how the process works and the things that people need to think about as they plan a project.
That could just be a website thing for
Exactly.
you.
And I think, I don't mind having a town hall meeting. I mean, I don't mind, I love community meetings, so I don't shy away from those. But I think the thing that makes Montreat unique are the rules, and so I am an advocate of rules, flexible rules, like with variances. I'm certainly okay with the fact that there's a hillside and that perhaps someone might need a variance because of it's unrealistic. But I think that's what, if we don't have the rules, then you have,
I think
Chaos.
people don't.
you do have chaos, and so,
Yeah.
so I will put that on my list, maybe a little further down, but I will work on that.
That sounds great. Okay, item 7, update on Wade and Susie Burns conditional zoning application.
What happened?
So there was, this was, what is today? Thursday, so this would have been last week. Last Thursday, there was the town council meeting. It was not approved or denied, it was continued to a date certain. There was a lot of discussion. I would highly recommend, if you didn't attend the meeting, going to the link and, forwarding, like I always go to it on YouTube. You can find Town of Montreat meetings, you can find Land Care, you can find all kinds of meetings on YouTube that are posted. Definitely recommend that you go and listen to it. I did not attend. You attended in person.
So it was continued.
It was continued, and there was a lot of discussion. The Hamiltons were represented. The Burns were there. Their attorney was there. It was a lot of discussion. Anything you would add, or Shelley?
The commissioners felt that they couldn't make a decision based on the existing application that they had, and so they wanted the town to go back and add to it, make it more complete. Some things about the map, and what we saw, I think before we actually made a decision, we got like 6 different versions of the application from Burns. And so it was constantly changing, and that was something that the commissioners
Need more clarity on.
about, because
Yeah.
what they had was not exactly the way it was right now.
Okay.
So, and I talked with one of the commissioners, and he was very clear to say the P&Z did fine. He was not worried about anything that P&Z did, but, it just needs to be, maybe they need to tighten up their procedures for finalizing the applications or something like
Is this the application to make that piece of land its own zoning?
Yep.
Yeah, because they didn't feel like they had what they needed
To be able to decision, okay.
There's other factors in there as well. And, both sides have very strong opinions, and so that's some things that the council has to deal with. But, there was also, they wanted to make sure that they had a very up-to-date, complete application.
Is the lawsuit ongoing so it's still going on? And this is trying to resolve that lawsuit, basically.
Well, no, it's not a lawsuit. It's
Trying to approve the CZ that we put
Right,
forward, right?
right.
the application for the conditional zoning is separate from the lawsuit. And that was another question, whether it would resolve the lawsuit.
That's what I was,
And that's, I don't know that they had a
complete answer with that. Because I think that was the point of this whole thing, was that it would resolve the lawsuit. So we're still up in the air on that.
And the Board of Commissioners had asked the parties to collaborate with experts and come to a fact-based recommendation on those changes, and they met, but apparently it did not produce agreement.
Two things. So so an update from Savannah about this. She said that where the town is they're going to have the town attorney contact Mr. Burns' attorney and suggest that he withdraw his application and start all over again.
Start a new one.
Because he changed his site plan, and the conditional zoning, you are approving the site plan, that is the written ordinance per se, and he's changed it. So that is kind of where the town is trying to have him back out and then start again, start fresh. So you guys will probably see it again.
That was my next
Yeah.
question.
Okay.
Is they're going to come back
Yeah.
to us?
And we'll try to direct him a little bit more going forward. So,
And this kind of goes into the stormwater ordinance in that, there's one of the suggestions from the Hamilton side is that he hike the creek on his side. And
But I just wanted to, if we're going to see it again, I'm not sure we should discuss. I just want to be careful on this.
but my question on the stormwater is, how do you make a determination as to what's appropriate or not? And I don't know, I need to go in and read this, what we have for the stormwater ordinance. But
Right.
it's those types of things that I think would,
well,
That we
in
need to address.
Conditional zoning, I believe you could require, you could put, what,
It could
maybe
be
a
a
professional
condition.
Professional
engineering,
engineer, yeah.
design.
but it's, I know a lot of people who are building are on steep slopes, and so they've got to do stormwater management and everything else. And, that's where I see some of the issues come up, and so I just want to make sure that, we probably need to dig in so we understand exactly how decisions are made as to whether it's adequate or not, because that will
Yep.
impact the ordinance.
And Barry is certified, and so is, he has an employee that was just recently certified. So we have resources.
that's good.
So just to note, be aware of
That's
that.
great.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, any other questions or comments on item 7? Okay, we're to item 8, and I'm going to recommend we be pretty fast on this because I know we've already gone pretty long on this meeting. Shelley, apologies because I sent you on a fool's errand with that spreadsheet.
Yeah.
There's a much more succinct one, so.
Okay.
So the comprehensive plan had a limited set, and I'm looking at the number of somewhere around 10 or 11 objectives that were assigned to the P&Z, and this would have been, at this point, several years ago. They were attached to the January packet, which is what I should have directed you to, because I think this is a much more complete list on the entire plan, getting into strategies that may have been recommended by the consultants. When I went back and reviewed what was in our January packet, and I recall that we had talked about reviewing them, seeing what we want to pick up, and if we're going to tackle stormwater, I think we may end up deferring on this. But there were only a few items that I think were actually potentially going to be open for discussion. So I think my question for the commission is, do you want to go through these? Do you want to spend a couple of minutes going through these, or do you want to wait for the next meeting? Because I just don't see. I don't think the materials in the packet give you what you need to proceed to a full discussion.
Well, can you just tell us what they are real quick? We don't have to discuss, but.
Yep. So there were a number of items that were assigned to the P&Z, and in 2023 deliberations, just to remind you how long ago this was, the commission at the time determined to not take any action, but to serve as a resource as needed. For example, support current and new activities with local, regional, and state partners to educate the public about the value of historic properties and landmarks. That's kind of an
That's
item.
historic.
Yeah,
Historic, right.
exactly. There was one item about investigating development regulations for short-term rentals, and the Board of Commissioners actually decided not to proceed on that at the time.
Okay, so that's not even coming to
Exactly.
us.
So
Okay.
when I look at the list, there were 3 items that were objectives 2, 3, and 4 under vision statement development. Investigate implementing a maximum lot coverage standard to cap the percentage of a lot that can be developed. And that was going to be handled by the zoning ordinance subcommittee. So that's why that one is sitting tight right now. Another one, which is objective 3 of vision statement development, in cooperation with the town, Montreat College, and the MRA and local organizations, work to update and implement a wayfinding plan, including educational signage. So that was assigned to the signs subcommittee, but we didn't get to it as part of the.
What's a wayfinding?
Wayfinding would be,
Directional signs.
directional.
directional signs.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
directional signs.
Oh,
And
okay.
so, and the signs subcommittee did not
Address that.
address it.
Okay.
And I think a lot of that, I mean, has independently been going on, right? I know that
Well,
MRA has
the
done some
college has
signs
been-
and the
Yeah,
college.
it's been updating a lot
Yeah.
of stuff, so I don't know whether there's still a need for that. I mean, that might be resolved with simple outreach to those institutions to see what they think they need.
The sign ordinance allows for wayfinding signs, and so there's, like you said, there's been a lot of effort to
Yeah.
update those. So I think it's kind of done.
Okay.
That, I think that's the kind of discussion, Clay, that we need to have, where we effectively put it to bed, based
Yeah,
on,
right.
yeah, that's exactly.
yeah.
Yep, because, part of the reason to bring this up is the stuff has been assigned to the commission, and if we don't actually address whether it's completed or whether
It stays
action's
on.
needed,
It stays
just
on.
looks like we're not doing
Right,
anything.
okay. So historic preservation, maximum lot size,
And
maximum
then
build on a lot.
preserve, protect, and enhance the character of Montreat by evaluating and improving existing allowable uses, densities, and dimensional regulations in each zoning district.
Uses,
It's
uses?
so broad.
Uses, what else?
Densities
Density.
and
what?
dimensional regulations.
What does that mean?
I think it's probably like setbacks
Well, I
Dimensional
noticed
regulations.
in each zoning district.
For what Shelley sent out, in that, there was things saying about establish a rule on architectural styles.
Whew.
There was a lot of things in what Shelley sent out that
Yeah.
was very overreaching.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that kind of fed into some of this.
Yep.
Dimensional regulations, I think that goes with how much of a property can be covered, and
Might be how tall, might be how, yeah.
and
Yeah.
that one I could certainly see. I've noticed a couple of new houses go in, and 90% of their lot
Is
is
concrete,
house.
yeah.
Right.
And
How did
so
that,
there are things like that are, I think, a legitimate discussion.
right, yeah.
But architectural style, that
Can of
horse is
worms,
out of the barn.
can of worms.
Nope.
And I'll just say too, historic preservation, are they asking us whether we think we should have a historic preservation?
No.
Situation?
No. Let me find that.
Because that's can of worms too.
There was one about that during the comp plan discussions, I remember the members that included Board of Commissioners members on that
Comprehensive,
committee
Yeah,
said they didn't want to go down that path.
I
Yeah.
agree.
Yep. The last one is calm traffic and lower speeds by partnering with regional transportation agencies to conduct a study of feasible options. There were plans to work with the zoning administrator and Commissioner Widmer at the time to work with the MRA and college on a possible partnership. Everything, all discussions on that were set aside, once the lane
That's
happened.
to lower the,
Well, I think it would require a traffic study, which means funding.
we're already at 20 and 30. I don't know how much
Yeah.
lower you can get.
Well, I think, you can add more speed bumps or, traffic calming. So, my personal view of this is that we don't have the funding for, we're not going to direct funding right now to a study.
Yeah.
But again, it would be an item where we would discuss and say, we're choosing to defer this to reconsider, 3 years from now, that kind of stuff.
I mean, there's
basically,
a,
so we
there's
can
a
put these to
question.
bed.
Yeah, to your point, I think the speed limits are pretty
I'm not
sensible.
sure you
It's a
can
matter,
get
if
much
there's
slower.
if there's an issue, it's more about maybe enforcement than it is additional.
Yeah,
Well, and that's data. Peak traffic now, it's like
very
4,000
concentrated.
less people than it was
Yeah,
Yeah.
5 years ago, so, there's that.
yeah.
Well,
Okay.
Two things. One, when they had the thing about the lodge, they had actually done a traffic study, and they said that compared to 20 years ago, the traffic volume is actually a lot less.
That's what I'm saying.
Right,
Yeah.
Interesting.
right.
The other thing is, I know
That's
the
interesting.
town, they've done some things about putting in some stop signs and some other
Yeah.
things, and evaluating them, and they actually took one stop sign out
Yeah.
because it was causing more problems than it's worth. So I think the town's already doing that.
Right.
So I don't know that there's a role for the P and Z
I agree.
on traffic.
I agree.
Yep.
I agree.
Yeah, so.
Okay, then here's what I would recommend we do. I can work with Shelley to establish like the spreadsheet for what's been, I will share this with you, go as to what we're tracking, and then we can share it across the commission and say, okay, this is what we're working on, and we can prepare for a fulsome discussion at the next meeting
Yeah.
and just put some stuff to bed
Yeah.
and say, we don't believe any further work is needed on this for these reasons.
Yes.
Report up to the Board of Commissioners, get any feedback that they have for us on whether they think we should be working on it.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't look like we're not thinking
Yeah.
about
Well, we can just put it to bed.
it. Yep.
And Julie, I was trying to remember, was it us, the prior composition of the commission that established the timeframes and the priorities, or was that driven by?
It was the
comp
Board of
plan?
Commissioners.
Okay.
Yeah, who assigned it to the P and Z and did the time. Well, actually, I have to go back and see if the time frame and priority, it might have been in the comp plan. I'll have to go back and look at that.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I don't know who assigned that.
If I could ask, when you send out the consolidated list that you need to look at,
Right.
can you do it in a document that we can edit,
Yeah,
add comments?
Yep.
Oh, that would be
Just add,
great.
but
Yeah.
make changes?
Right.
yeah,
And that way, we.
We've
can
got some
all go
input,
in
yeah.
and Add our comments.
It'll save some time. Yeah.
yeah. Shelley, do you know how to do Google Docs? I know the town uses them. Yeah, I mean, that would be great if we could add comments as we go towards the meeting and, and then produce it for,
That would be great.
so that it can be shared with the public, so we can have that public record.
Yeah, if it's a shareable Google Doc, so we can all put our comments in.
That would be great. And I think that's something that Brandon, the last time we talked about this, said that would be fine. As long as we're not, conducting discussions through the Google Docs, that would be fine. And that way we can make progress.
Julie, to answer your question, it actually, the time frame, priority, and entity are all spelled out in the comp plan. It's
Yep.
basically pages 48, 50, 52,
Oh, yeah.
54, and 56.
Yep. Thank you.
And those were,
Oh, yeah, that's what those little symbols mean.
Yeah.
The exclamation points and the clock. Okay, there you go. Okay, Shelley, I'll work with you to figure out, a way to do this so that we can just make some progress. I think the other part is we need to create a means of continuity across this commission, because this isn't going to be done in one meeting. So we need to just have a tracker that can really help us keep track.
And maybe a question back to the town as to whether, given Helene and everything else, any of their symbols have changed.
It's a great question. Yeah, because the comp plan gets done once every 10 years. And so, yeah, there's been a lot of change.
10 or 5?
I think it has to be done every 10 years.
Because I saw something about recommending that it be done 5 years. Maybe it was just a suggestion.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's adds a lot of cost. Okay, any other comments from the commission or the administrator on the comp plan? All right. Reminder of the next meeting date, and just FYI, in the planning board workshop with the School of Government. We just thought for good housekeeping that we'd start to have an item that reminds everybody of the next meeting. So super helpful for me to have that.
Is that the workshop that's downtown in
Yes,
Asheville? I did not
exactly.
sign up for it. Is it too late for me to get in on that?
Is it too, yeah, okay.
It is, okay.
Yep.
All right.
I'm going to be attending. Clay, you're going to attend. I know there are Board of Adjustment members who are attending, so I will take copious notes, because I will be learning a lot. And if there's materials, I bet Eleanor, we'd be able to share
Well,
them.
and if someone decides from the Board of Adjustments that they can't go, would you call me and tell me, and I'll just take their place if
Yep.
possible?
Yep, that is exactly the purpose of having that on the agenda,
There you
is
go.
to make sure that we're all aware of what's going on. Okay, I'll pause and see if there's any other thoughts on item 9. Okay, item 10, public comment. As there are no members of the public present, I will assume that we're moving on to adjournment. Any other items from the commission before we seek a motion to adjourn? All right, may I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion. to adjourn.
Eleanor, motion. May I have a second?
Second.
Bill, seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? We are adjourned.
Excellent meeting.
That's outstanding. Thank you,
A lot
everybody.
covered. What happened to your?
Yeah, we got a lot covered. Thank you.
Oh, I had an idea too. We don't have to put the sign out there. We could put it past the gate, right there.
Where people, if it's
Yeah,
right
yeah,
outside
not mess up the gate, but right there
Oh,
where
that's
the.
such a good point, because, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
because
such a
nobody will
good
like
point.
it out there in
No,
front, but you'll
I'm with
still
you.
see it if it's,
I think some of things could go here. This is town property,
true.
and then you would know it before you got there, but not close to the gate. So
Right.
You
But
don't want it in the.
You don't want to
picture of
ruin the,
gate, you don't want-
you don't want to ruin that, but
Yeah.
like I said, it could be.
Yeah, people do pictures.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it's-
yeah, yeah. I
I'm
know.
with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, we always have those, the Sunday morning
Right.
churches here, boom,
Oh,
boom, boom, boom.
absolutely.
We could
Well-
just have like a community billboard kind of. Yeah, yeah.
Somebody's complaining about it.
But it would be not, when people complain about too many signs, if it's all in one area, then that kind of goes away. I think it's the constant things everywhere.
It's sign management. That's-
Yeah.
That's one thing that we can talk about.
About the workshop.
Is there should be something about encouraging consolidation of signs,
Yes,
you know,
yes.
because they're just.
They're everywhere. Yeah, and I think that's what people are complaining about, not how many, but that there seems to be sporadically.
I don't know if you saw that they repainted 482 signs.